Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday, the Court of Appeal delivered its judgment on the Building Bridges Initiative Bill. They largely agreed with the High Court that the process was not constitutional and therefore null and void. But what next for Raila Odinga? Because we all know that the Building Bridges Initiative process was actually being pushed by President Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and the One Kenya Alliance movement. But Raila Odinga took the face of that campaign. President Uhuru Kenyatta's term is coming to an end, and therefore whether the bill passed or failed was not going to affect him. The person who is going to be affected is none other than Raila Odinga. So in this video today, I want us to look at what next for Raila Odinga after reggae stopped. Because Raila Odinga promised Kenyans that reggae was not going to stop. And these supporters also believe that Raila Odinga has the system. And the question which most Kenyans are now asking is whether that system is real or it is fake. But before we do that, if you're watching this channel for the first time, I want you to take a second or two and click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue to thank you guys for your continued support. Without that support, this channel cannot be where it is today. Now let us get back to the main issue. After yesterday judgment by the Court of Appeal, we have winners and losers. The first winner is actually William Samoei Ruto. And indeed today, the Kalenjin nation is celebrating. They've poured out to the street there, celebrating the collapse of the Building Bridges Initiative process. And someone was asking me that, Lee, assuming this BBI thing, judgment favored BBI, how would these people have reacted? But William Ruto is the biggest beneficiary. That's number one. Number two is Kenyans. Majority of Kenyans believe that this process was unnecessary based on the economy of the country, the priorities, the COVID. So most Kenyans, so those Kenyans who didn't want this process genuinely are winners. The other winner is actually the judiciary. Judiciary got the opportunity to deal with President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government once and for all. If you ask me, sincerely, the way the judgments were made, President Uhuru Kenyatta must figure out how he's going to mend his relationship with the judiciary. Not that to influence them, but I think these guys were not for the idea of having ombudsman, in the constitution. And the fact that the president refused at some stage to employ those, to appoint those judges, I think they had a bone to chew with the president. And this was the right opportunity for them. But who are the losers? The biggest losers, in my view, in all this is President Uhuru Kenyatta. You know, the president and Raila Odinga initiating this process means that they were keen on it succeeding. The fact that it failed, it means there's something about the president. The second people who have really lost here is the One Kenya Alliance movement. One Kenya Alliance movement had hoped that if the BBI was going to favor them, then we are going to have additional expanded executive. And that expanded executive was going to accommodate them. Now that's not going to happen now. The other loser is Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga has lost big time. Because number one, there's a perception in this country that the BBI was supposed to mutilate the constitution. Raila Odinga has been known to be someone who fought for reforms in this country. And some Kenyans were wondering why he was part of that group who intended to dilute our constitution. So as we speak today, Raila Odinga might not have the right platform to talk about the issues of constitution. But there are several questions which are being asked. How was the BBI process going to help Raila Odinga? Before we look at what next. How was it going to help Raila Odinga and his interest? There are several ways this BBI process was going to help Raila Odinga. And basically, or probably this is why Raila Odinga was keen on pushing for it. Number one, we are going to have an expanded executive. Expanded executive would have meant easily that if they were to negotiate the One Kenya Alliance movement, it means that Raila Odinga would easily be appointed as the presidential candidate, someone becoming the prime minister, someone deputy prime minister, someone deputy president. It was going to be easy for him. And probably Uhuru Kenyatta also had some interest in the expanded executive. So that one, he can now forget about it. So it means Raila Odinga today, we will only have to work that if he's the presidential candidate, the only position he can dish out is that of the running mate. Number two, it was Uhuru Kenyatta's interest. Uhuru Kenyatta has consistently stated that his interest was going to be the BBI. Most Kenyans have been asking whether Uhuru can go home, that Uhuru Kenyatta is too young. So where was he going after retiring? Somewhere within the building bridges initiative process. And now that the bill has failed, where is Uhuru Kenyatta's interest? So which means if Uhuru had intended to support Raila Odinga in the hope of Raila helping him to campaign for the BBI, then Raila Odinga, then he's supporting Raila Odinga. It means now that without BBI, Uhuru Kenyatta might decide not to support Raila Odinga. The third way it was going to help Raila Odinga is basically to appease the larger Mount Kenya region. The people of Mount Kenya region wanted this one man, one vote, one shilling campaign. And again, the BBI was also granting them additional constituencies. In fact, even those within ODM party who are supporting the building bridges initiative process, majority of them were not for the idea of a huge chunk of constituencies going to the larger Mount Kenya region. So, but Raila Odinga was comfortable with that, because as long as he was going to appease the people of the Mount Kenya region, then it was okay. But what next for Raila? Before we go into what next for Raila Odinga, let me just take a minute or two to figure out why the BBI process failed. Why do you think it failed? Number one, I think it failed because President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga realized late that William Ruto's popularity was growing. And that growth was as a result of the building bridges initiative process. You know, it's normally easy to oppose something than to support. And William Ruto read the mood of the country very easily. And he realized that there were a certain group of Kenyans who are not comfortable with the BBI. And again, it was easy to pick certain issues or elements of the BBI and use them against the BBI, like the expanded executive, even the additional constituencies, you know, the way it was favoring some regions, not favoring some regions. So it was very easy. So it was adding Ruto advantage in terms of popularity. So these guys might have decided to stop that. Let us just frustrate this process. Number two is the cost implication. You know, we can't go for a referendum when the country is bleeding. You can't vaccinate Kenyans. You want to go for referendums. Kenyans are being fired from jobs left, right, and center. I think they realized that going for a referendum would cost the country. And if you leave even costing the country, the campaign was not going to be very easy. So people like Raila, Uhuru were going to spend their personal resources again to campaign for this process. Then after that, 2022, there's a general election. So probably because of those, they also decided to frustrate. Number three is unpopular initiative. BBI was unpopular in the eyes of Kenyans. Those who initiated it did not really involve the people. They didn't explain to the people the real benefits of the building bridges initiative process at the initial stages. So Kenyans were just hanging. Even those who were supporting BBI, they were just hanging. You ask them, what are the benefits of the BBI? They were just hanging. And lastly, I think if you look at it critically, William Ruto had succeeded in his propaganda of kugawana viti. That was aiding him in the hustler versus dynasties narrative. So BBI had to fail. But of course, if you look at the way the process was also designed, it was easy to go to the courts and the court was going to throw it away. And I want to give the people who took this matter to the court some credit. You know, the approach they gave this matter, there was no way they were going to lose. They made approach from all corners. So you deal with this, you deal with this, you deal with this. Even if the court grants you this, then there's still a place where you fail, you know, like the quorum of IBC. Definitely the IBC is not, as currently constituted, qualified to conduct a referendum. But the fact that they were not, it means that alone, even if the courts granted all their prayers, still they were going to fail. But what next for Raila Odinga? In my view, Raila Odinga should do these 5 things. Number 1, he must focus now on 2022. BBI, if you ask me, was a baggage which Raila Odinga was carrying on his back alone. The moment the MCs passed the bill, you saw how Kalonzo, Weta, Mudavadi rushed to take credit for it. And that credit was never given to Raila Amolo Odinga. But was it going to serve the interest of Raila Amolo Odinga's presidential interest? Yes and no. So now that it's out, Raila Odinga must now just focus on 2022. Because if anything, even Ruto was using BBI as a platform for his 2022 presidential bid. He would go to events, tell people, oh, how BBI. Now that BBI is behind us, Raila Odinga must focus more on his 2022 presidential bid. That's number 1. Number 2 is Mount Kenya. I want to ask you a question. Who are going to be the real beneficiaries of the Building Bridges Initiative process? It's Mount Kenya, the 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling campaign. Even allies of the deputy president from that side were the ones pushing for it. Now it is gone. Who are the biggest beneficiaries of the additional constituencies? Mount Kenya. With a clear strategy, with a clear messaging targeted at the larger Mount Kenya region, Raila Odinga can go to the people of the larger Mount Kenya region and put himself here and put Ruto here and any other presidential candidate there. Then he can now start telling the people of the larger Mount Kenya region who can take care of their interest. Then he can point out to them that I wanted to give you additional constituencies more than any other place was rejected. I wanted to allocate your counties more money, was rejected. I wanted to do this using BBI, was rejected. And because the campaigns will not be there, it will be easy now for someone to come up with a clear messaging, a clear strategy on how to use the benefits which the people of the larger Mount Kenya region were going to get out of BBI and campaign for that, for the 2022, so that these guys will figure out that if we elect Raila Odinga in 2022, is he going to give us additional constituencies? Will he defend our right to have more money? Things like those. Number 3, and this he must make a passionate appeal to the president. The economy of this country is the main reason why Kenyans were not for the BBI. You know, Kenyans were being kicked out of jobs. Then you want to tell them about the Building Bridges Initiative process. They won't listen. Kenyans were going to bed hungry. Then as they go to bed hungry, while watching their TV, they see you talking about Building Bridges Initiative process. So the president and Raila Odinga, specifically Raila Odinga, must appeal to President Uhuru Kenyatta to look for ways on how they can work on economic recovery of this country. If the economy of this country can be revived, I can assure you that BBI would have easily passed. Kenyans would have, even if the courts rejected it, Kenyans would be crying that why are the courts doing that? The 4th thing Raila Odinga must do, right, is focus on IBC. Is IBC ready to conduct a free and fair elections? Who are the people pulling the strings for IBC? Is it the deep state? Is it possible that after the last election, when Ruto took control of IBC, his people are still controlling that IBC? And how can they make the process of IBC to be free, fair, and transparent so that if votes are cast, then that's exactly what is reflected. So Raila Odinga must now start monitoring all the developments at IBC, if I were him. The fifth thing he must do is to ask President Uhuru Kenyatta and also Raila Odinga himself to lead in a mass vaccination. You see, Kenyans suffered a lot because of COVID. As we speak, hotel industry is down completely. Why? Because of COVID. While there are vaccines outside there, people are not getting vaccinated. So Raila Odinga must take his opportunity, any available opportunity, to start appealing to his supporters to get vaccinated. So once Kenyans are vaccinated, it would mean that even if Raila Odinga were to make an appearance in somewhere and people turn up in large numbers, Kenyans will not feel that is irresponsible, that he is irresponsible by attending rallies when COVID is there. So he must lead. He must lead the calls for mass vaccination. And lastly, Raila Odinga must also do self-re-evaluation. He must re-evaluate the handshake. Is it serving his political interest? If yes, what is not being done right? And if it's not serving his interest, what can he do? He must ask that question. He must ask himself whether the deep state is deep state. He must ask himself those questions. He must re-evaluate whether his campaigns are actually on the right track. I don't know what you think. But in my view, those are some of the things Raila Odinga must do to succeed in 2022, especially after the High Court ruling. I don't know what you think. Let me hear your thoughts. But I think the president of the Republic of Kenya has been failed by his people, the people he entrusted with the building bridges initiative process. And the president, if I were him, I would act. For example, why is the Attorney General is still in office when the president has been losing cases? Why? Why is he still in office? How is he being in office helping President Uhuru Kenyatta? You know, as the legal advisor of the president, this guy ought to have told the president that, look here, this thing you are doing and it's not right. Let us do it this way. Let us fix this at this stage. Let us fix this at this stage. Let us fix this at this stage. Rather than waiting until the president goes outside there, a ruling is made against him, you appeal, another ruling is made against him, then what is he still doing in office? I don't know, but I'm just thinking. Bye-bye, guys.